semi-axle eyesight. Is there the high drive? Deep center! Go! 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 We're out of here! We're out of here! Say ya, playa!
Just like they drew it up in Hollywood, Caladros, the 3-2, swing and a miss! And the Audubon Green Wave have upset the Kingsway Dragons! And this is it for good! The Audubon Green Wave are back in the Final Four! A dog pile on their side!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DW Broadcasting's coverage of men's varsity.
From our entire crew, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 1 of The Discussion Room. I am Dan Wilkins here with my co-host, partner in crime, Chris Baker. We tried this a couple of weeks ago before the basketball season started, and we needed a do-over, let's say. We were not ready to release a lackluster product, so we decided to try it again after Christmas. Basketball has been in session for a couple of weeks now, but it's been a little while, and we're not going to be recording in studio for a little while. But just with what we've been doing lately, it's been a whole lot of just delays and trying to figure out a day to schedule things, and we finally got it to work. And we do have a guest today, Brandon Dougherty, the head coach of Gloucester Catholic boys basketball. He took over of the program in July after 10 years as an assistant, and he is now a 4-1 head coach. They lost today to Rancocas Valley, and they play, I want to say Seneca later, I want to say tomorrow, in another holiday classic. But we'll talk to him in just a moment. But Chris, it's been a couple weeks. How was your Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas was pretty good. I had to work the day before Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve, so I did miss my mom's side of the family festivities, but I was able to make it to my dad's side, and it was pretty good, Got to see some family, sometimes work and stuff like that. You don't get to see family that much. I have to occasionally work on some family parties, for birthday parties and whatnot. So, finally being able to actually get to see them and talk to them and spend time with them, watch some football with them. My Patriots got the win. I got to laugh at them because they're all rooting for the Patriots to lose. They're all Eagles fans. And then the next day, Christmas Day, we all got to watch the Eagles game together. So, both of our teams won. So it's
always good when your teams win. Although I will say, at the time of recording, the North Carolina Tar Heels are currently losing in the Dukes Mayo Bowl to West Virginia. So we'll see if that turns around by the end of the episode. But Christmas was pretty uneventful for me. My mom had come down with COVID a couple weeks ago, and so did both of my grandparents on my mom's side, and they live like 1,500 feet away from me. So it's like, if you have even been close to them, like, it's the exposure and everything like that. So
all those protocols.
So we were careful around them, and luckily my mom's better. So I think my grandma's better too. And we decided not to go up to my dad's Christmas party, or my dad's side Christmas party in Hillsborough. Just because my entire dad's side of the family is North Jersey. They've got the thick New York smoker accent, like, Christopher, eat your kibasi. It's hilarious because, like, they all sound exactly the same. They all look exactly the same. I can't tell my own aunts apart. It's great. But unfortunately, my cousin, who hosts in Hillsborough every year, her husband came down with COVID in a completely unrelated thing. So that was called off for everybody. So hopefully they see me at my graduation party. But the holidays are over. I still have the Christmas tree up. For those that are watching on YouTube, it's a little bit, it's barely in frame. It's a lot more in frame on the Google Meet. But last year I didn't take this thing down until February, so God knows when this is gonna come down this year.
Make it a different holiday tree, dress up for Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day.
Exactly. I could put like 4-leaf clovers on the tree in March. I could put teddy bears on it in February, but
little hearts and whatnot. Yeah.
Knowing me, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day often. So knowing the business that I do,
in the business, in the industry that I do, that is not a holiday that I observe often. But as you know, Chris and I, we've worked together a little bit. We have done a couple broadcasts together. We haven't really known each other since I want to say like maybe 6 months we've known each other, maybe 7 or 8, but still, I mean, not that long, but we have some good chemistry. And he reached out to me, I think I want to say a month ago, something like that. And he said, do you want to start a podcast? And or he said, I want to get in on the podcast boom, but I don't know where to start. And I said, well, I've been trying to reboot my podcast, The Dan Wilkins Show, for the past 3 years. For some of the older viewers of my channel, when I first started out, I was doing a podcast called The Dan Wilkins Show, which was basically, it was an interview podcast where there were some professional athletes, there were some coaches, commentators, different people involved in the sports world that I interviewed, got different perspectives out of, and that's really what we were going for. We got about a dozen episodes in 2020, and some going into 2021, and we had to kind of scale back our operations. There are still some episodes that were not published, but that's basically the story. And now we come back to this, and hopefully, just like all the other South Jersey podcasts out there, which there are not that many, but there are some great ones out there, and hopefully you add yours to, hopefully you add this to your list of listening choices, whether it's on your drive to work or whether it's just on a Sunday leisure. It's good to have you guys with us for this inaugural episode. Now, Christmas obviously just passed, and in between the new year, there are a lot of basketball tournaments going on, a lot of different, like the Marty Derrer Classic, Dougherty Showcase, Much McLean, all those kind of things. This, that, and the other thing. But you know more about that than me. So, Chris, you want to talk about what's been going on the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what we've been seeing is some teams opening up with, some conference play. This time of year is usually, some teams will schedule some out of conference or some conference, conference crossover games. I know today Camden just played Paramus Catholic. They beat them. But this week in between Christmas and New Year's Eve, the New Year holiday, it's pretty much, there's, whether it's wrestling or basketball, it's primarily, showcases and tournaments. Like Dan mentioned, you got the Butch McLean tournament at Haddon Heights. You got the Marty Derrer Showcase at Delsea. This week also another big one too is at the Wildwood Convention Center, the Boardwalk Classic, which I'm pretty sure is a 3 or 4 day event.
They've got dozens of teams playing in that.
Yeah. From Middle Township played Archbishop Wood, I want to say,
Out in
Philly.
PA,
Yeah, from the Philly Catholic League. I'm looking here. We got the Eastern Holiday Tournament. Some of these are pretty new. Like I know the Pittman Holiday Classic's a fairly new one, if I'm correct. Collingswood just had a quick little 4-team tournament. One I grew up with in high school was, my first 2 years of high school, the Audubon Christmas Tournament. Gloucester boys and girls were always in there.
That was the only time that they played before they joined the Tri-County, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, before Gloucester joined Colonial about about 3 years ago. Yeah. It was the Audubon Christmas Tournament. My freshman year, Gloucester won it. I'm pretty sure we beat Holy Cross in the final. Holy Cross then was a very big power within South Jersey. They had a lot of transfers, a lot of international students. The girls is usually Morristown Friends. I mean, they had Bella Runyon, who's now at Villanova. Her brother is on the Packers. Dad, former Eagles player. But yeah, pretty much those are the ones I kind of grew up in high school with. And then junior year, Gloucester had a quick one. Just Lindenwold, Defford, Gloucester, and Maple Shade. Remember Lindenwold won that. And then after that was my senior year was COVID. So no Christmas allowed. No Christmas tournaments allowed or showcases allowed my senior year. But I mean, right now you get to see a lot of the good out of conference games. I mean, like I said, Camden, Paramus Catholic. Tomorrow we're going to see a lot of good ones at Delsea. I got the full slate here from the Marty Derrer Classic pulled up. They're tipping off with Overbrook and Delsea, the host Delsea. They're usually past 2 years, they were usually like the the midday game, the 12:30 2 p.m. game, because they do like a little tribute to Marty Dara's family. He was a former South Jersey referee, if I'm not mistaken, who passed away from COVID. So I'm pretty sure this is if that's the case, I'm assuming it's a fairly newer showcase, but it's pretty big within the area. There's usually some better matchups than you usually will find throughout the regular season. After the first game of Overbrook and Delsey, we've got Williamstown and Sterling, which last year was the nightcap. Then after that, we've got Millville versus Gloucester City at 12:30 p.m. After that, we've got Timber Creek and Burlington Township. Burlington Township has been a participant the past 2 years. I know Gloucester City has. I know I think Sterling has as well. I'm not too sure. I know they were last year. That Williamstown Sterling game was the nightcap last year, if I'm not mistaken. Timber Creek, I think, has participated the last 2 years. I think actually like 2 years ago. I think I'm pretty sure they played Millville, if I'm correct. I think they played Millville.
Okay.
Last year Millville played Highland. Pennsgrove and Vineland. Vineland, I'm not sure if they were in it last year, but I know the year before that they played Clayton. And that was like an 8:00 game with like about maybe 4 people in the gym, and then the rest of the people that showed up were just the following, team members from the next game.
Yeah.
I know Vineland won by I think like 50 or 60 points. With Clayton on that tornado system. Pennsgrove last year they played Gloucester. Last year I'm pretty sure Gloucester. I know Gloucester won. I'm not sure the gap. I don't remember off the top of my head. I know Liam Gorman had 34 points and 17 rebounds. I mean, that's a huge double right there. And then after Pennsgrove Vineland, we've got Cherokee and BCIT. Cherokee, I want to say, has been a participant the last couple of years. BCIT as well. I'm pretty sure Cherokee might have played Delsey last year. I'm not too sure. I don't remember the matchups off the top of my head. But yeah, Cherokee, Coach Cassidy, he does a great job as well with the Jimmy V Classic with the opening weekend showcase. I mean, that's literally, they fill up both. They got 2 gyms at Cherokee. They fill up both gyms all day, man. There's about, I think, like 13 games going on that whole day.
Yeah. That's so much.
Yeah, the back and front gym. I know that's, and it's usually good matchups too. There's usually some Central and North Jersey teams that'll come down and will play some of the better South Jersey teams. And then the nightcap, we got Highland and Clayton. Like I said, Clayton, I'm pretty sure, has been a participant the last 2 years. Actually, I'm lying to you. Last year, Clayton played Gloucester, not Pennsgrove. Pennsgrove was the year before Gloucester played them. But yeah, Liam Gorman's stat line was the same. I just got the 2 teams mixed up. But yeah, Clayton's been a participant the last couple of years. Highland, I think so as well. I know they played Millville last year. So all these teams are pretty much repeat participants, except I think Overbrook. I don't think Overbrook has competed in it. If so, it might have been 2 years ago. I don't remember them in there last year, but they might have. Like I said, I don't remember last year's slate too well off the top of my head. But besides the the Martyr Dare Classic, we've got so we've got different showcases and tournaments, up and down the board.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. And I was going to say, I mean, that Clayton game, any Clayton game is fun, because whether they win by 40 or lose by 40, or even if it's a close game, every time it's fun. I can't wait until January 4th, which is when DWB is covering that game versus Gloucester Catholic. The run and gun, the Grinnell College offense, where the first possible shot is the best possible shot. Like, I didn't think it was mathematically possible to score 110 points in a basketball game, in a high school basketball game, where with 8-minute quarters, 32 minutes of regulation. It's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah, man.
And you consider the fact that Grinnell College, which is a NCAA school, plays what's college basketball? 15 minutes.
Pretty sure it's 20-minute halves. Yeah, 20-minute halves.
That's 8 extra minutes that you can score. So if Clayton's scoring 110 and 32, imagine how much Grinnell is scoring when they get hot. I think they had one guy, I forget his name. He was just a white hooper. He scored, I think, 140 points in a game. It was crazy. Like, he literally scored 40 more than Wilt Chamberlain. That's just like, that's I've never seen that before. Frank Michael Smith, he's a YouTube content creator. He did a YouTube short on it. I don't have TikTok, so I resort to watching YouTube shorts. But those games with Clayton are always fun. There's really no other school that I know of that does it in South Jersey or in. I mean, I'm not too educated on the North Jersey teams. There might be another team that does a different kind of Grinnell or rips up the Clayton offense, but. Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it's incredible. I think the first game that they played this year was versus Penn Tech. They won 96-76. Even then, that's low scoring for Clayton standards. that's like a 90s NBA game basically. But yeah, I am covering the Audubon Holiday Classic tomorrow. I'm waiting on a text back from my AD, Tony Carbone, on who's playing when. I know the girls had 2 games, the boys had 2 games. The boys needed to get a different team in because I think Woodstown, or no, I'm sorry, there was a different team. Or I'm sorry, Cinnaminson for the girls. They dropped out because they just kept winning the tournament every year. So that's kind of how it was. But
yeah, if you can bring him in, that'd be good.
Yeah, let's admit Mr. Dougherty. There we go. I couldn't figure out how to do it, but there he is.
How we doing, Coach? Yeah, we had a little bit of technical difficulties there.
No problems. Chris, Dan, how we doing?
Wonderful, Coach. You guys are off to a good start. By the way, this is Coach Brandon Dougherty, first-year head coach at Gloucester Catholic after 10 years as an assistant. Took over and is off to a hot start, 4-1. Unfortunately, took the first loss today, but you guys still have a chance to get back at it tomorrow. With you guys being in here, off to a great start. Gloucester Catholic's always been a great program. Second in the Tri-County Classic Division last year. You guys are starting off well. What have you learned from this club this year to get you guys off to a good start?
Well, I think we have a really well-rounded team, a team that can, get a lot of help from different areas. We have one guy right now who has kind of got off to a good start in Jack Mastero with scoring. But if you look at some of our games, we have other guys kind of stepping up, and it's a team kind of in the truest sense of the word, which has been really great to start off my career with. Today was a little tough. RV, really good opponent. It's one of the reasons we like kind of being in this tournament and these type of tournaments is playing some teams that are a little outside of our normal schedule and, really giving ourselves a test. We knew going into it, it'd be a really tough team to play. And they came out and shot the ball really well. I think they were like 9 for 13 from 3 in the first half. But, we look at these types of games as games that are just going to prepare us for later in the season, as well as when we get to the playoffs. We have Middle Township coming up in a couple weeks. They're like 3rd in South Jersey. We have another couple tough opponents, in January and February. And hopefully that just, gets us ready for the end of February when, everything really starts to, you start to play for everything.
Yeah, Coach.
Yeah.
You want to go, Dan? Or
yeah, you're good.
All right.
We'll switch off.
I gotcha. Yeah, Coach, I grew up going to Gloucester Catholic games. My cousin Matt Peoples played for Gloucester Catholic, so
I coached him.
Yeah, I wanted to wear the maroon and gold growing up, but I ended up going to the school down the street as Gloucester Catholic calls it. But Gloucester Catholic's just been a perennial Tri-County Conference program. Whether it could be quote unquote a down year for you guys are still, middle of the pack fighting for a top spot in the division. So, you've been under 2 different head coaches now, with Coach Powers and Coach Curbison, and now you kind of inherit a team that's kind of got a mix of both. Last year Coach Curbison had kind of like the underclassmen that Coach Powers had on his way out. And then, you've got a guy like Jack, and you got some transfers too. I noticed Noah Danza, a Clearview transfer, a really big baseball guy. I think he's coming to Virginia for baseball.
Yeah, yes.
So you got a good mix of guys, like you said. What has gone into, I guess, the planning of becoming a head coach to make sure that this team gets the ship sailing?
It was probably more than I even realized. I felt like I had a pretty good understanding of, what was required from the basketball standpoint. Once the school made the announcement, we really wanted to make sure that our summer program was very intense in getting these guys prepared. We had a number of guys coming back, but we also had guys who were kind of stepping up into different roles. We did a couple newcomers, both guys who hadn't played before, who, we have some baseball guys who maybe hadn't played last year or the year before. We have Noah coming in and who's been out the last week or so with an injury. He's hopefully going to be coming back next week. But I kind of thought I had the idea of like, okay, this is what we need to be doing in the off season. This is what we need to be doing, to prepare for our season in the preseason. By practice 5, here's what we need to be, ready for our first scrimmage. I found kind of the toughest part that I'm still adjusting to is, kind of doing everything else, getting other coaches for your schedule, making sure the scouting reports are set up, making sure that we have our alumni events, getting the crowd out there and kind of all that stuff. So that is still kind of learning on the job. My assistants have been really helpful. I am lucky enough to have 2 former head coaches on my staff. Tom McNelia was a coach at Oma for 8 years, and Josh Cassidy was a coach at GCIT and at Shalleck for I think 5 years or 6 years. So that's been a really big help. I've been leaning on them. And now that we're in the season, it does feel a little bit more comfortable of like, okay, now we're just, now's basketball. We got to worry about the next game. We have a game tomorrow. We have a, game coming up in a week and a half against Clayton and then Middle Township. So that's been a little bit easier, even though it's probably more work. It's just a little bit more familiar work at that point.
Well, Brandon, I got to cover some Audubon basketball with the Public Address. And you guys played them earlier this year. I did not get to see the game because we had a broadcast that night, but you guys won by 8 versus Audubon, a team that either won a lot or won by a lot or lost by a lot last year. Their team is looking pretty different compared to years past, but you guys have scrimmaged Audubon the last couple of years. This was the first year in a while, from what I can remember, that you guys actually played them in a game that mattered. But for one of your best guys, Jack Mastaro, he has been on fire. He dropped 25 versus Audubon. He had 32 versus Salem Tech. And then you also have guys who can pass the rock pretty good. Carlos Mendez has 21 assists this year. I think that a problem that exists in high school basketball, just because the problems that exist in high school sports are always because they stem down from the pros. Like we've talked about before, just with me in conversation with people, that the modern point guard in professional basketball is basically dead. Like a Steve Nash or a Jason Kidd who can just run the ball fastest guy on the court. He passes the rock. He doesn't have the most points, but now any NBA point guard can just drop 30 a night. You guys seem to still be holding on to that traditional, still regular backcourt. You guys are still leaving the power in the front court. I mean, Mastaro is not a small guy by any means. And you guys, as you said, have a really well-rounded team. So have you felt like the chemistry between your players has been good this year?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're still feeling out process. I'm interested to see kind of what happens tomorrow coming off of our first loss. The common saying is everything's always going good when you're winning. But I kind of trust that these guys have been playing together for a while and can hopefully come together and rebound and, not let it kind of snowball. You mentioned the Audubon game. I thought that was our best game of the season, easily our most complete game. Audubon is a really good team this year. I think they would have to be one of the favorites for Group 1. They have a really good chance, I think, of winning their conference. That was a game that, I know Coach O'Donnell pretty well. I coached under him for a year. When I got the job and kind of looked at our schedule and saw that we had some openings, I reached out to him immediately. And we actually already had a scrimmage on the schedule because, like you said, we've I think we've scrimmaged them every year since I was in high school, probably earlier. But we decided, hey, why don't we try to set that and make that an early season game instead? And it was, for those of the people who were able to go, I thought probably just a classic high school basketball game, back and forth. Both teams played really at a high level, defended at a high level. It was a good game for, I think, both teams. I think we're both going to get a lot out of it kind of going forward. And it'll be interesting for me to kind of follow their season because, like I said, I think they have a lot ahead of them. With our point guard, Carlos, this is his second year as a starter. I thought last year he kind of took some lumps as a first-year sophomore point guard. We put a lot on his plate. He was a captain, which I don't think we had a sophomore captain in at least the time I've been around. So he really tried to embrace that leadership role. And I just felt like it was a little tough for him because he had a lot of turnovers just because he was getting used to the speed of the game. He was someone who I thought had the most improvement over the summer. He not only has now honed his point guard skills, but also has now become a little bit more of a scoring option. I do think you're right. You do see at the high school level less of the traditional point guards because at the NBA, so many point guards are scoring and kind of not really setting their teams up as much. One of the toughest things we do is we try to show the kids the difference between the games. I don't think they always realize that even though they are both basketball, when you're playing with a shot clock versus a not shot clock, when you're playing, with some of the rule differences and just the skill levels, some guys at the high school level don't necessarily realize that, like, hey, that turnaround 15-foot fadeaway is maybe a good shot for a pro player who's practiced that for the last 20 years and also has to do it under a shot clock and also has to do it with, the defensive focus on them, whereas we maybe not a great shot for a high school player just yet. We can work and get a better shot.
Right.
So that's always one of the tough things, that it's showing them that there are differences between the games and, maybe what's good there doesn't necessarily work here. What's good here doesn't maybe necessarily work with the pros. But the kids are really, kind of like little sponges. Everything we tell them, they do really soak in and take to heart, which makes my job a little bit easier. And hopefully by the time we get to the middle of the season, you can start to see some of that payoff.
Chris?
Yeah, Coach, Gloucester Catholic is almost like it's everyone thinks about a private school as, all these players, the sports are all sports specific. But it's almost like Gloucester Catholic's one of those traditional, it's almost like a Group 1 school. Almost all the kids are two-sport athletes, like Noah's a baseball guy, plays basketball. Pretty sure, Jack was the quarterback for football, and then I'm pretty sure he plays baseball as well. And even it's been a thing forever. I remember going to Gloucester Catholic games. You guys had the Mondials. Tyler was a baseball guy. Schwarren, baseball guy. Austin Reagan played golf. So, it's always been a thing where it's like it's not just one sport. It's like it's a community thing. And how big of a part do you think that plays into the success of a program like Gloucester Catholic over the years?
I don't think we would have nearly the success we've had if our school as a whole wasn't an embracing of making athletes full-rounded athletes and big part of the community or big part of the full school community. We obviously have a outstanding baseball program, but it kind of starts from the top. Coach Barth was a 4-year basketball player, and he has told every single one of his players, hey, you guys should be playing other sports, not only just for the high school experience, but it makes you a better athlete. It makes you a better competitor. I remember when Mike Schwarren was kind of going through his time, we would actually have baseball scouts come to the basketball games, and they would ask, we'd sit there and be like, he's a good basketball player, but, what are you guys doing here? And they'd be like, we'd love to see how these, high level draft picks perform in other sports, right? Do they get easily frustrated when they're not the best player on the field anymore? How do they interact with their teammates? How do they handle maybe the frustration of losing or whatever? So that's always been a big thing for us in the school. Last year we really made a push for a lot of our players to come out for the football team. We felt like it would make them better athletes, a little bit stronger, help that program. And that's kind of Jack. I didn't play as a freshman, but then came out for the quarterback. Carlos was also a player who ended up playing for both. Kyle Golden is a player that plays both sports. So, I think it's important just in all high school athletics to not be solely focused on one sport. I think it's just better for your experience. I think it's better for your training as an athlete. But at our school specifically, because we aren't a huge school, like you said, we do have, we are a little bit more like a Group 1 school. If we were to specialize, the sports overall would suffer. So any guys that we do have that are, basketball first, we really encourage them. Hey, if there's any other sports that you're interested in that you want to try out, we really want you to do that, because it's not only going to make you a better basketball player, it's going to make you a better athlete, but it's going to get you a little bit more ingrained with some of the other players. Maybe there's another basketball player who's on your lacrosse team and you get a little bit closer to him, you get a little bit better of a connection with him. So there's really not much of a downside in my mind.
Well, Coach, you were very elated at the fact of your first win, taking down Glassboro, a 500 team last year, but still,
Mhm.
you never know how the first couple games are going to go. You seem like you've had a good transition. You had a 4-game winning streak to start your head coaching career, and you had the great quote from my good friend Brian. He said, or from you, I don't even have the words. If Daryl Morey called me tomorrow and offered me the Sixers job, I'd turn him down because this is where I want to be. So I assume, hey, you've worked with these guys for the longest time. You were an assistant for 10 years there. You know these people, whether they were seniors now and they were freshmen and you've known them, you've worked with them before. Now the only difference is that you're the one driving the car. You're the one in control and you're succeeding. It's very rare. I wouldn't say that it's automatic and I wouldn't say that it's common, but it's decently uncommon to see head coaches off to a smooth start in their first year. But I think the transition goes to where you were an assistant for so long, and now that you're back in the head coaching spot, it's just like moving up one step on the ladder. It's not like you're started at the bottom and now you're jumping up all the way to the top. So, has that transition from an assistant role to a head coach, has it come to you yet? Have you figured out the transition of this is what I got to do now that I'm in charge and not helping out somebody else?
Still learning for sure. I do think that, like you said, being around for as long as I was and working with the guys as long as I was certainly helped that role. I think it's a little bit similar to what we as players do from year to year. We have guys who were maybe on the JV team last year, and now we're asking them to be, a starter or a sixth man, or, a guy who was maybe a starter, but, didn't get as much, wasn't involved with the offense. Now they're maybe a little bit more of a scoring threat. We ask them to do more. So it's a similar role to what we ask for the players to do. You mentioned that quote. I kind of was serious. I didn't really know what to say at that point. I was so excited. And then, it was kind of funny the next day or 2 days later, Mark Dirigiris kind of said the same thing. He was texting me after the game about that. So I was nice to see. It was fun to see. But yeah, it means a lot to me to be back in my alma mater and being the head coach. I not only played here and coached here for a while, but Gloucester Gaelic is a big family atmosphere, and literally for me, it's part of my family. My father played for the program. My 4 uncles played for this program. My brother played for this program. I joked with someone that actually, when my mother was pregnant with me, my uncle was playing for the team, so I was at games before I was even born. So this program has always been not only the school, but the program, this basketball program in particular, has always been a big part of my life. And getting the chance to kind of take on this role and hopefully, steer it back into the direction that I know it's been in, would be one of the biggest honors that I could achieve. I do think that I had a lot of help with the last few years. Jason Kerbison, in particular, kind of really treated it as a equal footing. He kind of empowered me and one of our other assistants, Matt Green, to kind of take a bigger role than maybe a normal JV coach or assistant would. And I don't know if it's necessarily because he kind of knew that with his job restrictions, he might not be able to be here as long as he wanted. But he had kind of mentioned that, he had always hoped that whenever he was not able to coach anymore, that Matt and I would be able to kind of move up and take the reins of this program. And he's still been a really big help when he's been able to be around. And I can't really thank him enough, as well as Coach Powers and Coach O'Donnell and Coach Murphy and everybody else has been a part of my life. But I do think that did make the transition a little bit easier. And I also think kind of having the announcement made in the summer kind of gave the players a little bit of a chance to make that transition. We're already pretty familiar with each other, but it is a little bit of a change when, they have to kind of look to someone else for their final say, or, I'm always going to run things a little bit differently than anybody else would. And the players have really made the transition, I thought, really easy because, anything that we've done a little bit differently, they're like, okay, they bought in. They're always very good about asking questions and wondering why we're doing something. But, I haven't really had any challenges or like, no, we should be doing what we did last year. The guys have really tried to buy in as much as they can. And, it started off well. Like I said, we're going to get into the tougher part of our schedule, I think, right now. With RV and then Middle Township. And then we start to get into some of the Tri-County teams like Pittman and Salem and Wildwood, who, we're going to be battling with for that conference title.
You guys have 4 games on the road from January 8th to January 16th, Pittman, Pennsgrove, Wildwood, and Salem. With, even 5.
Yeah, it might be the rookie head coach not scheduling it out very well, I guess. See how that goes.
You guys will need a lot of diesel for the bus, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those trips can be a little tough. That trip down to Wildwood is always a tough one. That's been I think we've only won one time down there since I've been a coach. So hopefully we can break that streak this year. But those teams are always going to battle, whether it's home or away. And the one thing in our favor is if we have to go there first, we get the chance to kind of maybe knock them off, and then they got to come back to our place later in the season. So, there's always a yin and yang with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Gloucester Catholic has been in pretty much the same division for, however long that they've been in the Tri-County. They've always played the Pittmans, the Wildwoods, Salem, the smaller schools, but also they're not afraid to go up top and play a Kingsway or Washington Township. I mean, Washington Township this year, that's a pretty big game for you guys. Not only is it a conference game, Coach Powers has the reins over there now. So obviously not looking too far ahead, but do you feel like that is, a matchup circled on the schedule, or?
Oh, for sure. I think that's a matchup that, just beyond what's on the court, because they are playing really well. They're 4-1, I think, right now. That'll just be a really good matchup or a really good test for us to play against a bigger school. But to also have Coach Powers come back and to be in the gym and see him, and after coaching under him for so long and playing under him, I was on one of his first teams when he started his coaching career. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are having an alumni event that day as well, bringing back a team from the 90s that was a conference champion. So it should be a really kind of cool day for, the Gloucester Catholic family to kind of have everybody back in the building. Hopefully we'll get a nice crowd with the students, and that'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, and Brandon, I'll give you one more question before we part, unless Chris has more written down. Chris, do you have anything else before we part?
Yeah, I mean, you've watched some of these programs grow within the Tri-County along with Gloucester Catholic. Pittman back then, they had, guys like Eric Stafford and Tim Delaney. And then now they got, a Crispin on the team. So it's almost like there's familiar last names within these teams still. And that's kind of the beauty of, small school sports. You'll see last names continuously. And even not even just small school sports, you'll see it, typically within South Jersey, even at bigger schools. But you've been coaching at Gloucester Catholic for a long time, assistant now head coach. Has there been a game that you've been a part of, on the bench or even playing, where it's kind of just embedded in your mind is like, that's my favorite game that I've been a part of?
Yeah, let me think. One when I was playing for sure comes to mind was a game against Holy Spirit. This was, I guess, my sophomore year. Holy Spirit was ranked 4th in South Jersey. Really good team. They came up to play us at home. The gym was packed. I think my mom had to sneak in the side door to get in. And it was back and forth game. And the ref called a foul, loose ball foul with half a second left to send one of our players to the line. And one of the Holy Spirit fans kind of came out to the court for a minute, and kind of chaos ensued. So all of a sudden they had to send the team to the locker room. And I just remember, the kid, he was a year older than me, Tim McKenna, kind of waiting at the edge of the locker room to go back out to shoot 2 foul shots to win the game as, the crowd's chanting Gloucester Catholic. And, he ends up going out there making both. We end up upsetting Holy Spirit. That was easily the biggest memory from when I was playing. And when I've been coaching, some of these games all blur together. I remember we back at the Cherry Hill East tournament that they used to have, we upset St. Augustine one of the years by 2. That was back when Mike Schwarm was playing. That was kind of one of our better games. One that didn't really work out for us, I remember, and I'll probably talk to Ron Myers about this soon, but we were playing Pittman, I think, a couple years ago, and we ended up losing by 2. We had a kid go coast to coast, and they called a charge as he laid it in. So, good or bad, those games always kind of stick in your memory, and it's kind of the beauty of high school sports is you can sit here 20, however many years later, and bring up those fun high school memories. And I'm hoping our guys can make some memories of their own, and be sitting on a podcast talking about it with some guys in the future.
That's all
great.
for me, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is early. Obviously, things can change throughout the months. You still have all the way, I want to say maybe 16 games left until February 10th at Gloucester. You guys play a decent array of teams. You've got, like we said, Seneca tomorrow at 11:30. And that should be an all right game. Seneca's 1-4. But
yeah, don't sleep on them, man. They've probably had the toughest schedule in South Jersey so far.
I was gonna say they have had a really tough schedule. So that is a 1-4 with a giant asterisk on it. And then we are covering the Clayton game on the 4th. So that is going to be real fun. I am like a kid in a candy store waiting to see that Clayton offense in person for the first time. But
it's an experience, man.
It is an experience, even for somebody on the opposing side of it. But, like we said to close, you guys have 2 home games, Clayton and Middle Township, and then 4 games on the road. That would probably give you guys some adversity. I'm not saying that it will, but it could. And adversity is going to be something that will always be one of the toughest challenges for a brand new head coach, and especially with your players as well. If you maybe don't have the same success on the road, you don't know. You got to turn into the locker room and you have to put on your game face and say, hey, let's get past it. Let's move on to the next game. So you guys have been off to a hot start, but recovering from the adversity is what's going to make or break a lot of people's feelings about Gloucester Catholic basketball. How do you feel you're prepared to take on adversity and to overcome it? Do you feel you're prepared for that?
Man, it sounds like you had a microphone in our locker room today. One of the things today that we felt like we didn't do well as a team, and I think it starts with me and the other coaches as well. is we didn't feel like we handled the adversity of the game very well today. We were actually just going back and watching it, and there was a point where it was a 12-point game kind of late in the second quarter, and they were 8 for 12 from three at that point. So we're not playing bad. It's just they're off to a hot start. And then they were able to end the quarter on an 11-0 run, and that kind of put the game to a decent extent out of hand. One of the things we said was we felt like as a team, we were trying to overcome, things that we were a little bit out of our control. If a team's off to a hot start, you can't necessarily go get those points back. There's no 10-point shot. There's no 12-point shot to make up for that. You're just going to kind of chip away and ride out the storm. And one of the things I told the team today was I didn't think we even gave ourselves a chance for them to cool off shooting. We started to force shots out of our offense. We started to kind of try to make plays that weren't there. Now all of a sudden they're able to kind of get easy runouts and get layups. And it's like, hey, they were probably going to miss shots eventually, but we didn't really give them a chance because we kind of started to, play outside of the way we know we're supposed to play. So hopefully we're able to learn from that. One of the things that I've found as, an assistant, and at any point in my coaching career is you try to lean on your leaders in times of adversity. So we made sure that we kind of talked to our captains after the game today, and we're going to kind of talk to the seniors tomorrow before our next game about, hey, when those bad moments happen, we want to make sure we're coming together. One person isn't going to be able to get you back in a game like that. They're not going to be able to make all the plays necessary. We got to find a time in that hectic, storm to say, all right, let's relax. Let's go to something that we're comfortable with, whether that's me making sure that we call a play that we know inside and out, that we can run comfortably, whether that's us getting back to like, all right, let's just stick to our fundamentals on defense. We don't need to gamble on this possession. Let's just make sure we box out and get a stop. Because what's great about high school basketball is, it can always just be one little thing that changes it. You could have one stop, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you got the confidence back, and, stopping a score down the other way, and the game changes. I thought so far, even though we were 4-0, if you looked at our last win against Woodbury, we were actually down 6 with a minute and a half to go. So that was, kind of a little moment of adversity. And I thought our team really handled that well. We came down, we executed, we were able to make a 3. Then we, off a timeout, kind of had a defensive series set up. We were able to get a steal off of that, kind of calmly went down the floor, got an M1. We didn't rush a shot. So that's a situation that kind of gave us hope for other tough moments in the season. Today I thought we really didn't handle it as well. But if we can learn from it, then, we can still take a positive from that. If you look back to last year a little bit, we started off with a 7-1 record, and then we kind of had a series in the middle where, we had some losses and some tough losses, especially. We were able to kind of bounce back that at the end of the season and make a run in the Tri-County B tournament and, win our first playoff game. So there's always ebbs and flows to the season. What you try to do is, when you have those rough patches, you minimize them as much as you can, and you try to ride out the good times as much as you can as well. So, but it's generally going to start with our leadership, and, it's the players on the floor. So, we can, I told them it always means more coming from them than it will be coming from me. So, if I tell them to calm down, or if I tell them like, all right, hey, let's run this, they listen, they know what they're supposed to do, but it always means a little bit more when you can get, a senior to say, all right, guys, let's calm down. Let's run this play. Let's set up our defense. Let's make sure we know who we got. Let's, make sure we're not missing an assignment. And I do feel like we have 4 seniors who have been playing so far. We have a 5th one who has been injured. Hopefully we'll be back next week. So I like that core kind of group as a leadership. And then the 2 juniors who are both captains, Jack Mastero and Carlos Mendez, are also kind of part of that leadership core. So we'll lean on them a lot anytime we have some trouble. And I kind of trust that they'll be able to guide us through.
Well, that's all I have. Chris said he doesn't have anything else. So best of luck tomorrow versus Seneca.
Thank you.
Again, we will see you on the 4th versus Clayton.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man.
I think that's a 5:30 game. Yeah, so
Yes, it is.
I'll have to get parking info from you. So that'll be fun having to log the equipment into the gym. But
We'll make sure we save some spots from you. Chris can surely attest that parking in Gloucester is never the easiest thing.
Too many one-ways, man. Too many one-ways.
I had family that lived on I forget what street it was. It was right near the Ben Franklin Bridge in Gloucester. I have no idea what it was called. I think it was it was Essex Street. Or no, I'm sorry.
Right under that limit.
It was I'm sorry, it was Mercer Street. That's what it was. They lived on Mercer Street.
I mean, they're all the same, dude. They're all one-ways down there pretty much.
Yeah, all the row homes and everything like that. But yeah, so best of luck to you guys tomorrow. I know it's a nice drive up to Cinnaminson. Hopefully it's not going to be pouring rain like it was today, but yeah, you guys will hopefully rebound versus Seneca. I'm sorry. Yeah, Seneca, and we will see you guys on the 4th. So thank you, Brandon, for joining us in our inaugural episode of the Discussion Room, and we hope to have you on again sometime in the not so distant future.
Yeah, you guys know how to get a hold of me. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. And you guys are both great for all that you're doing for high school athletics.
Thank you very much, Brandon.
Thanks, Coach.
See you later.
All right.
Yeah, that was Coach Doc for you guys, man. That was a good one. I like that. I really enjoyed that, man. I knew I had to make sure to pull out some wild cards there that I know, I knew of, some of the older guys that he coached when my cousin was playing. So I had to make sure they got out there, and it looks like he enjoyed those. So I mean, that was fun. I'm glad we got that one in there.
Yeah, I'm hopefully we get some more guests in the near future, especially when baseball comes around. The connections that I have. You have the basketball and football connections. I've got the baseball and softball connections. Every week we might have a guest for all I know. But
hey man, don't sleep on my connections. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. You've got some great folks that and so do I. We all do this together. We all chip in our 2 cents. But
it's a team game.
What's that?
It's a team game, pretty much. It's a team effort.
Yes, collective. It is. It's like pickleball, 2 versus 2.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
kids have ever played pickleball, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's flat tennis. It's flat tennis. We play it in gym class sometimes. It's literally just you take a like a ball that you would use like for Dollar Tree wiffle ball. Like that's literally what it would be. It's not a real wiffle ball. It's literally the thing with the round holes in it that you get in like a little tight play pack.
I've seen it played before. I just have never played it.
Yeah, it's not something that you usually just break out at the Thanksgiving jamboree, if you will. But yeah, that was fun from Coach Doc. He had some really good insight, and hopefully we get to talk to him at some point. But they play Seneca on the 28th in that Butch McLean tournament. And then, as we said, DWB is covering their game on January 4th versus Clayton. And then they close out that homestand versus Middle Township on Saturday the 6th before going on a 4-game road trip rather. Pittman, Pennsgrove, Wildwood, and Salem. Pittman on the 8th, Pennsgrove on the 10th, Wildwood on the 12th, and Salem on the 16th. So that's basically 4 games in 8 days, all on the road, and all of them not really right around the corner from Gloucester Catholic. I mean, there's a lot of schools that are close to Gloucester Catholic, but Pittman's probably
Gloucester's within walking distance. I've walked from Gloucester to Gloucester Catholic a couple of times for Mega Bowls. So
yeah, so I mean, Pittman's 25 minutes away, probably. Pennsgrove, 35. Wildwood, an hour and a half. And then Salem, I'm just thinking because I was in Delaware today at the I got these new puppies, these noise canceling headphones.
Okay.
Thank you, cousin Chris, for the Christmas gift.
Wasn't me.
No, sorry, Chris with a K, KRIS.
All right, there we go.
Shout out to Chris and Pittman.
The wrong way to spell it, but
what's that?
The wrong way to spell it, but
there's many different ways to spell it. Like Crisscross, the rap group in the 90s.
Yeah, I know.
like what Mike McCune dressed up for as Halloween. He dressed up as Crisscross for Halloween.
Yeah, I
Well,
saw that. That was a good one. That's elite. That's an elite one.
McCune has some good Halloween and Christmas costumes. But yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of experience because I drove up the turnpike this afternoon in the pouring rain with traffic. So that was fun. So I think it might be like, Gloucester Catholic in Gloucester City, say 40 minutes to Penns Grove, 40 minutes to Salem. Penns Grove, Salem, kind of in the same spot, and then Wildwood's an hour and a half away. Chris, you're giving me a weird look. Let's not get into an argument about traffic.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm doing math in my head. I'm kind of. Salem's probably about 45 to 50.
That's what you get off at like exit 1C. You get off at exit 1C.
But that's way. Salem High School is way in there though.
It is. I remember that one.
Penns Grove just right off exit 4. So
yeah, exit 4 is Penns Grove. I remember real quick before we talk about actual on-topic discussions. When I had my 6 hours for my driving permit, on the third day, because it was 3 days, 2 hours each. So what we did is we went down on the highway onto I-295 South, and he's just like, just keep going. I'm like, okay. How far should I go? Just keep going.
That was literally the same thing with me. That's literally the same thing with
me. We went all the way from the exit 29 all the way down to exit 4 at Kearney's Point, and then we turned around and went back the other way. So he threw me off the deep end, man. But shout out Lenny. Shout out Lenny's driving school. They're not even a sponsor for us, but we should note that we should note that this podcast and all Dan Wilkins broadcasting media is brought to you by the great folks at Tommy D's Home Improvement, the place to be for wholesale cabinets and kitchen countertops at heavily discounted rates compared to big box retailers. Visit today on the corner of Creek Road and Harding Avenue, next to the 42 on-ramp and next to that brand new bridge that they've got there. From 42 north to, I think it's from 42 north to I-295 south. They do it kind of both ways. I took it today. So I had to drop off my laundry in Westville, and I brought it back to pick up my cousin in Pittman. So, but yeah, and also big thanks to the folks at Garden State Pet Center, 200 block of Whitehorse Pike in Audubon. Great place for any pet accessories you need, including toys, cages, accessories, and more. They have great rates, open 7 days a week. Victor Santucci is a great guy over there. And hopefully we'll be able to renew a deal with them in the next couple of months. But that's just my shameless ad plugs. And if you would like to be, or if any small business owner out there would like to be a sponsor of Dan Wilkins Broadcasting, you can get your commercial played on our shows for $250 for 6 months. That is our cheapest package. We can give you a full business profile in my email, which we also link in the YouTube description, but it is the Dan Wilkins Show at gmail.com. So reach out to us. Let's make a deal and let's get your company on the map. But let's get back to the topic at hand before we scared away Doc, because we were supposed to get him in here at 7:15, and then we got him in here at like 7:30, like 15 minutes late. But let's go over first some scores from South Jersey, because it is late enough at night to where the coaches are reporting them.
Yeah, I don't think we're waiting on anyone. If anything, maybe some Boardwalk Classic scores.
Yeah,
back into that.
Not too much, but Hightstown took down Maple Shade 65-31. A close game in Vineland as they took down Highland 49-46.
At Highland.
Oh, I'm sorry. It said Vineland versus Highland.
They put the winner first. Photographer.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Photographer I work with at D2 Sports Network, Kirsten Flicks, one of the best up and coming photographers. She was there today, took some really great pictures. Go follow her on Instagram at Kirsten Flicks. She's a great person overall, man. I mean, when me, her, and Colin are taking road trips for football, it's like a comedy club in there, dude. We don't stop laughing. Man, Colin took me and her down to Ocean City all weekend for Battle at the Beach, dude. We could not stop laughing.
So. Wasn't it in like your beat up car too?
Nah. Colin drove.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a nice car?
Yeah, actually, that's a really nice car. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, for Vineland and Highland, Vineland and Highland, senior forward Alex Reyes dropped 18 and 9. And for Highland, they don't have rebounds and assists in, but Christopher Evering had 16 points and 4 of those on free throws. He's got 154 points in his high school career, but that was a close one from Vineland and Highland. Clearview took down EHT, Egg Harbor Township, in the Haddon's Invitational, 59-52. We were talking earlier with Coach Dougherty, or Coach Doc. 74-35 was the final. Not exactly the prettiest score, but RV took down Gloucester Catholic. Again, big versus small. Not a whole lot that there needs to be said there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with that, I mean, RV plays a gauntlet of a schedule. Man, they're in the Olympic Conference. You know, they're in the Olympic team. They opened the season with Camden. Best. They gave Camden a run for their money. I think it was a 58-51 final. So, I mean, look, your Coach Doc, first-year head coach, some returning players. You can't be mad at that loss. Obviously, you could be upset with the loss, but something like that where you got a team that just ran with, gave Camden a run for their money. You can't really be too mad at that. At that point, you got to use that as a building block and just go up from there.
Exactly, and we saw some other close ones as well. I'm not gonna highlight like the 30 and 40 point games. I'm gonna try to find the close ones.
We can just skim through.
Yeah, Glassboro beat Cumberland 62-52. Oh my gosh, Paulsboro took down Clayton 105-58. Whew. That run and gun offense, man. Whew.
Yeah, tornado.
And that's for
tornado
the
system.
Opposing team. Yeah. CCTS beat Salem Tech 48-42. PVI took down Deptford in the Collingswood tournament 77-59. Let's see here. Heights and Florence. That was a close one in the Butch McLean 56-53. 3-point game. And then as we were talking about, we'll talk about Kip Cooper in a second because they're off to a 5-1 start. They took down Oak Crest today at the Boardwalk Classic 47-44. Let's see as we go down the list. Washington Township took down Lindenwald 72-61.
Quick one from that one. I'm pretty sure Tajamir Brown put up a 50-point.
TJ Brown, man.
Up in there.
Ooh, let's take a look if they have in the West Effort tournament. TJ Brown balled in our first DWB feature versus Gloucester back on the 19th. He was a bucket, even though Lindenwald lost. And yes, TJ Brown. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you are going to find this crazy. Lindenwald put up 61 points.
Yeah,
TJ Brown had 50. TJ Brown had 50.
Shout out to
those
Kevin Emmons for that
61
post
points.
earlier.
So just on my iPhone calculator real quick, he put up 82% of Lindenwald's points. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, another kid from Washington Township, Gavin Conrad,
right?
37 points. I mean,
37.
There was no shortage of scoring in that one.
And Cade Pekarik, 11 and 15 from him. But TJ Brown 15, and then everybody else only had 11. Jaden Farmer had 4, BK Drame had 4, and Jabril Simmons had 3. So that just drives me. That is insane to read.
Quick little matchup I want to highlight real quick is Collingswood and Winslow. That's a big one because the coaches are identical twins.
Really?
Collingswood's first-year head coach and first ever African-American coach in school history, taking over for Pat Dorney. I'm going to say Nate Ingram. Why can't I find this right now? He took over this year, first-year head coach, and it's going against an identical twin in the tournament. I'm pretty sure it's identical. I saw a Tom McGurk article saying they were. Yeah, Nate Ingram and Norman Ingram. Yeah, twins, or I'm pretty sure twins, at least brothers. They faced off today. Nate takes over for Collingswood. Collingswood has been on a little bit of a skid the past couple games. The other day against Cumberland, Tomas Money put up a school record 47.
I saw that. I thought it was 46, but still, I thought it was 46.
47 we got is on NJ.com.
Okay. All right. So yeah, still a dang high number.
That's a school record. I mean, you can't knock that.
Yeah, that's crazy. But some other close ones that we saw, West Windsor, Plainsboro South, WWPS, they took down Delran for their first win of the season, 49-38. The senior Quintus Crosland got 6 and 15 boards on the day. And then also going down the list one more time, there were a lot of games we played today. Plainfield took down St. Augustine. The Plainfield Cardinals, 3-4 on the year. They took down these 5-2 St. Augustine Hermits, 45-40. St. Augustine does not have their stats in yet. So we can talk about that at a different time. A lot of runaway games. Pittman and Gateway 95-41, and Pittman doesn't even run that Clayton offense. They just
No, they got a lot of high scores. Elijah Crispin, man, that kid can shoot.
Anybody with the last name Crispin, anybody.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
anybody with the last name Crispin is an automatic bucket. But yeah, we had going down the list again. Oh my gosh, a lot of games. Spotswood beat Northern Burlington 80-70. That was a high-scored one that ended in a 10-point game. And then that's all I really have in for South Jersey. That wasn't a complete, shock out of the water.
We did have a couple good ones on the girls' side today, though. We had 2,000-point scores and a thriller. But if we want to run through boys' divisions first, we'll do that, and we'll hop to the girls' side, or
yes, let's do that. Let's talk about the boys' basketball scene and the standings right now. Starting off with the Burlington County League,
the biggest county in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, right? Burlington County.
That can't be right.
Pretty sure, yeah, dude. I mean, think about it. Hamilton is almost a Burlington County town.
Are you talking about physical size or by population?
By physical size.
Okay,
like
I'm thinking
the area it takes up.
Okay,
there's 3 state parks in Burlington County.
Yeah, that I understand because I'm thinking like there's no way because like the what county is Newark in and like Jersey City?
I think
you don't know.
I think that's
Essex, Union County. Yeah, I was gonna say like there's no way that Burlington County with all that sparse.
No,
land,
not the most.
I thought you were talking about the
physical size. I guess area would be right.
Just like how Alaska is the biggest state in the union, but by size.
Square miles would be probably the
probably,
word,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, square miles. Just like Audubon is exactly 1 square mile or about 1 square mile.
Covers
but
not Audubon, Burlington County.
But BCSL Freedom Division, they've got 2 teams over 500, Delran and Kip Cooper. But Kip Cooper, 16th seed in South Jersey Group 1 last year. They had a run for their money versus Wildwood. They lost by single digits. The number 1 seed. It's all even if the outcome isn't what you want in terms of like just rooting for underdogs. Kip Cooper with Antoine Miller. They're off to a 5-1 start. They beat Oakcrest today. They play Glassboro tomorrow in the Boardwalk Classic. They have the 1:00 game at the Convention Center. But they beat Maple Shade by 30, Palmyra, Florence, and New Egypt, basically all BCSL teams. Their only loss was to Eustis, 66-44, and even Eustis is a 500 team this year at 3-3. But again, Eustis is playing a little bit of a tougher schedule. Even if you want to knock Kip Cooper down a peg for playing a bit of a pedestrian schedule, 5-1 after being an under 500 team last year is still a good improvement. And especially looking at the games they play next, they might be able to hold this 500 and up record until the end of the season in February. Have you looked into them at all?
Yeah, pretty much just a general outlook. I mean, Kip Cooper Athletics, they're starting to see, I guess, a bit of a bit of a, not really a boom, but I mean, their football team is in its pretty sure its 2nd year this past season. They're going to be in the division this year. They're finally eligible for a West Jersey Football League division now that they're being independent. They got their first win against Wildwood, which is that's huge. That's their first program win in history against Wildwood.
Mm-hmm.
So Kip Cooper's athletics are kind of starting to, I
guess,
start to
take off.
Not really take off, but they're going. They're getting past their growing pains. It might seem like, I don't know the full array of sports they offer, but at least football and basketball wise, the most, I guess, quote unquote popular sports within New Jersey. I mean, they're starting to they're getting their baby steps. They're really starting to start to walk.
Right. I mean, Tommy Dixon, the 6'3" center for the Titans. I guess that's what they're called, right? The Titans.
Pretty sure the Titans.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they are. The orange and navy blue. He had 151 points last year, 168 boards. He's almost halfway there to his numbers this year. 73 points, 57 boards. He put up 2 double-doubles this season already. He had 14 and 12 each versus Florence and New Egypt. So this team, I mean, a lot of it depends on what you guys have, to offer. And these guys seem to have Again, 3 players on their team are 6'3" and up: Malik Kelly, Makai Moore, and Tamir Dixon. Again, for a team that's not young in terms of their players, but young in terms of the program, that is what is going to bring the growing pains. Like I said, they play Glassboro tomorrow, Pennsauken on the 30th, and then they go back to Delran on the road. They go to Delran on the road on January 2nd, and then they play actually Williamstown and Willingboro. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Willingboro seems to have a good BCSL program. Last year they were I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong school. They were 6-18 last year. I was thinking of somebody else. My apologies, but I think that this is not a bad schedule. It's a bit of a light schedule, but you're not expecting Kip Cooper to start playing these powerhouse teams when their program is only a couple years old. So here's the thing. Last year, they were not in a conference. They did not play in the BCSL. They played all independent games, and their schedule looked a lot different. They were playing Freedom Prep Charter, which I think is another Camden school.
Yeah, there's a lot of Camden charter schools. Freedom Prep, yeah, they were
Mastery Camden.
Mastery
They played them twice.
Yeah.
Leap Academy, is that Camden?
It's another Camden school, yeah.
Okay. And then they played Camden Academy Charter again. And they also played Newark Lab, which they also played to close out the regular season, beat them 62-47 last time. So they were playing a lot of other independent schools, and they were playing a lot of other schools that they were kind of like, how Notre Dame plays in the ACC schedule? Like they are technically, for all intents and purposes, independent, but they basically play an ACC schedule every year.
Not really.
I mean, they play like what, 6 or 8 ACC opponents every year?
I don't know about that. I think maybe 5 to 6 at most. I mean, they play a lot of.
Yeah, but that's still half your schedule. That's still half your regular season. But still,
really a majority schedule.
What I'm saying is that there's a lot of BCSL teams on here, but at the same time, like, you also have Paulsboro in the Colonial, you have Cherry Hill East in the Olympic, you've got Buna in the Tri-Count, or in the Cape Atlantic, rather. Yeah. So it seems like Kip Cooper was kind of scheduling like willy-nilly at first, but now they've got it locked down to like, hey, we're playing these teams. They're even in a couple tournaments. They play West Tech again. They closed the season at Newark Lab. So they still have a lot of out-of-conference schedules, a lot of out-of-conference matchups, but they still have their BCSL mix. So they're getting there. So hopefully they have good years going forward. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about one team. Medford Tech off to a 5-0 start. I'm going to be completely honest. I have not done my due diligence on them yet.
They're good. They got ballers.
A lot of schools have ballers.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about basketball here, so I would hope so. I mean, dude. I think their standout performance was they blew out Williamstown 99-48 in the coach versus Kansas case.
Wow.
I mean, they've got some hoopers. Trey Powell with a 35-point performance. Led the team in rebounds and steals with both with 6. Williamstown is not really what they used to be. They're 0-5 to start the year, but that's not taken away from Medford Tech. I mean, here's the thing: people don't realize, like, teams that are great, they're gonna blow out the teams that are not, really even to the level of average. Great teams should be blowing out the teams that are, a couple tiers below them. But they've got a couple of guys. Nestor Rice is another one who's pretty good. That I've heard his name thrown around, past year or two. But I mean, they're 5-0 right now, and they're just taking control of the games. I mean, Burlington Township they only beat by 1. Bordentown they beat by 12. West Tech they beat. I can't do quick math right now. I'm not gonna lie. And then Doane Academy, who's usually, I guess, considered a South Jersey team, even though they're pretty up far north. I'm pretty sure they're a BCSL team.
Yeah, they're BCSL.
Yeah, they're BCSL, but they are way up there, up by the Trenton area. They're like, I think they're like that Bordentown area.
Well, they're in Burlington City, so they're south of Florence and Bordentown. Yeah, they are right on the Delaware River, in Burlington City.
I don't have the map put up in front of me, unfortunately, so I gotta refresh my memory there. But yeah, I mean, like Medford Tech, man, they got ballers. They've got ballers, whether it's boys or girls basketball. They've got some kids who can hoop.
and going over to the Cape Atlantic League, because the BCSL is a good division or a good league, but the Cape Atlantic, that's one of the places where the true best of the best are made. And I know Nick Costco talks about this a lot on his Cape Atlantic podcast, but we're going to dabble in his market for a couple of minutes and just talk about the best of the best.
Sorry, Nick, we're not stealing your thunder here, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder, but we have 3 undefeated teams in the Cal. Ocean City 5-0 in the American, and then 2 undefeated teams in the National. Atlantic City at 6-0, always great at basketball, and Mainland great at every sport, almost every sport that I know of. I don't know any sport off the top of my head that Mainland is not good at.
They have equestrian down there?
Do they have equestrian?
I don't think NJSI has an equestrian.
I was going to say they have fencing. They have fencing.
Do they really?
Well, I don't know if Mainland has it. I know Morristown Friends and like the really big schools have it, but like
Morristown Friends is not that big of a school. They're one of the smaller non-public Bs. But I know can you imagine if South Jersey had equestrian?
Man,
think about it though. Some of them tri-county schools like Woodstown and all them, like them Salem County schools.
Oh yeah, you got some people that are grown up on farms. Yeah,
there'd be a lot of equestrian titles down in Salem County.
Yeah, but yeah, that I never really thought about that. Like equestrian.
Should we get a push to start that?
We should get a push to start equestrian.
I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't even watch it, to be honest with you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess that would be a good sport to start up. Along with definitely a sport that they should consider starting up is well, first of all, pickleball. They should definitely make pickleball a state sanctioned sport, just for my amusement, because it is easier to play tennis, and I don't have to be in shape to play it. So
get a DWB feature of pickleball coming up.
Hey, I had a DWB feature of field hockey, and I didn't say a single word. So that's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, dude, field hockey's a really cool sport if you actually like sit there and watch it. Like at high level field hockey, that stuff's cool.
Oh yeah. Well, you're a North Carolina fan, and they win. Yeah, they win every year. So, but
shout out Eastern's Riley Heck.
Yeah,
All-American player, pretty much a bunch of players of the year. Eastern, she's a baller. She's a baller.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much straight up, she's a baller. South Jersey on top. Go Heels.
So we were talking about in our quote test run, because when we were recording this first episode, it was supposed to be the real first episode, and then it was sloppy, so we decided to scrap it and make this the first episode. But we made division predictions, and even though it's a little too late to make division predictions with our, I don't even know what I said for each, because I just kind of said it on a whim, because I'm being completely honest, I hadn't done my due diligence. But there's some really good teams in these divisions, and it seems like there's a big drop off in the national, where you have 2 undefeated teams, and then you have 2 teams that haven't gotten a win yet. So it could go either way. But for these guys, for St. Augustine 5-2, as we said, they lost to Plainfield today, a 500 team. I don't know how their schedule goes, considering Plainfield is a North Jersey squad. Again, not really my market. But Millville 3-2, they play Gloucester tomorrow in another basketball tournament for the winter, and Egg Harbor Township 3-4 this year. But how about a team that doesn't get a lot in the spotlight when it comes to athletics in general? They had a 4-21 record in 2022 into 23, and they are now off to a 4-2 start under Carlos LeBron. That is Bridgeton, and the Bulldogs. They have been surprisingly good. They beat Vineland, Holy Spirit, Cedar Creek, and Barnegat. Now, by no means are they powerhouses that they beat, but Bridgeton's off to a good start. Do you think they can keep it up?
I think it's going to depend how their schedule goes. I know Bridgeton Athletics, I mean, they kind of are what they are. It's hard for them to keep a lot of their talent, or they get poached by a lot of some of the Salem County schools and even some of the other Cape Atlantic schools, because Bridgeton's almost kind of like in that middle ground in that Cumberland County to Atlantic County area. Mm-hmm. But they seem to be off to a pretty good start. I mean, thing is though, when you look at teams they played, I mean, a 4-point loss to Abscami is nothing really to completely fret about. But I mean, that loss to Mainland is just kind of like it's not really. It's almost a benchmark of where I guess the level that they're at now compared to a team like Mainland, who's a top 10 to 15 team in South Jersey.
Right. I mean, I think the thing is though, again, yeah, I guess you're right that it depends on the schedule. I mean, just considering that they were 4-21 last year under Carlos LeBron, they did not get their first win until December 22nd, and they only had one win going into the new year. And their wins were pretty spaced out. I mean, winning 4 of 5 for any team is good. They play Pleasantville to open up the new year on the 2nd of January. A 2-3 school, a team that Bridgeton beat by 3 in their last matchup. And then along with that, they've got ACIT and Atlantic City. I think that Atlantic City game on the road on January 5th, that's going to be more of a benchmark because that's going to be in the season when they're going to be battle tested. Mainland and Bridgeton, that's how they opened the season. I don't think the first game of the year is a good benchmark because it's the first game of the year. Growing pains happen. The players that are playing on the first day of the year may not have the same levels and the same experience that they have going into January. Once that new year crosses is when the season really starts to get nitty and gritty. So I think that when they played Atlantic City, if they're still undefeated or at worst a 1 or 2 loss team, I think that'll be more of an appropriate benchmark for Bridgeton. I don't know if what their opening day would be really time appropriate.
I kind of feel like it probably is. Mainland thing is though, with a team like Mainland, they are who they are. They are going to be a team that is going to blow teams out that aren't really on their level. Atlantic City, I mean, they had a lot of young guys last year. Guy that really stood out last year, Kawan Roseboro, he's back again this year for his junior campaign. And I mean, he seems to be off to the start that people kind of expect him to be. I feel like if Atlantic City's on the rise and they're playing to what they're looking like right now, I think maybe that Mainland game really was the benchmark for Bridgeton.
I think that's something that we're going to have to agree to disagree on, but let's keep it going for the sake of time. So in the Colonial, there are some decent divisions going on right now. The Patriot division right now is a dogfight with all the small schools. Gloucester is 3-0, but after that, it is neck and neck everywhere else. Audubon 3-2, and they play Haddon Township tomorrow in the Audubon Classic. Lindenwall 2-3, Woodbury 2-4, which for a relatively with a team with a new head coach or a returning head coach that was in a different stint, Mark DeRogeris, they've been off to a rocky start. They were 0-2 to start. Lost to Gloucester by 12, lost by 11 to Salem, then they lost to Gloucester Catholic and Eastern, but they beat in the middle of that Collingswood and Audubon. Collingswood as well, 2-4, Gateway 0-5. So this Patriot division is shaping up if Gloucester doesn't completely run away with it, which with Liam James and how he runs his crew, that might happen for all I know. But they've got all divisional games from January 3rd to January 12th, and they've got almost no out-of-conference teams for the rest of the year, maybe 3 out-of-conference games in January and February. So they have some good teams lined up, and they've got a lot of battle tests going on against your frequent flying opponents. In the Liberty division, Haddonfield 6-0, undefeated start. I don't think that's overly surprising just because Haddonfield is that good. Paulsboro 3-1 with Darius Quarles. Haddon Heights 3-2, Sterling 2-2, which they were one of the powerhouses last year. They again 500 record to start. It's still early. It's still very early. They beat West Effort and Paulsboro and lost to Timber Creek and Haddon Heights. Haddon Heights this year, like we said, 3-2. Haddon Township 1-4. West Effort 0-3. So in this Patriot division, do you think that Gloucester has what it takes to run away with it and take the division title? Biases aside,
I don't think destiny really lies in their hands. I kind of think it's going to depend on the crash course around them, just because of scheduling, like you said. I mean, like you said, how many out of conference outside of
They only have after the New Year.
Pennsville, Highland, Riverside?
Yeah, only 3 out of. I'm sorry, they also
4.
played Deptford.
Yeah.
So four out of conference games from the
That's
New Year's
1,
Day to
2,
February.
3, 4, 5.
Okay, so Gloucester Catholic too, but that's still a lot of divisional games. They
Yeah.
still have a very battle-tested schedule ahead of them, and they've only played 3 games. Beat Woodbury by 12, beat Lindenwold and our DWB feature by 13, and then blew out Gateway. They play Millville tomorrow in the Marty Darrer Showcase, and then they play GCIT in another DWB feature on Saturday. So you're saying that the crash course and what other teams do is going to determine their destiny.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a team that a lot of guys got a good amount of experience last year. I was kind of expecting, the team to run through Michael Light. I'm pretty sure he's a 4-year starter, if not a 3-year starter. I know we got a lot of runs as a freshman. But I mean, he's there. This team, it's gotta gel and find consistency. I mean, the last couple of years, it's just ran through certain teams or certain players in certain systems. Last year was through Liam Gorman, and then second in command was Aiden Hagen. Before that, it was pretty much the same thing, but they just had a more well-rounded, more experienced team with guys that had 3 or 4 years of starting experience. Year before that, it was pretty much the ball went through Jason Pino, and then the experience was there as well with Liam Gorman being a 2nd-year starter, Stephen Light being a 3rd-year starter, Stephen Burkhart getting a lot of time here and there, whether it was starting or coming off the bench. I think experience is not entirely on their side, but they're a team that's talented and athletic enough to, I guess, compete and keep up and secure their the division. But like I said, I don't think destiny entirely lies in their hand throughout the whole season.
And yeah, I'll have to agree with that to an extent where, especially this early in the season, Gloucester's only played 3 games, and yet there's some teams who have gotten ahead of the ball a little bit and they've played 5 or 6 games before the new year. So it all really depends on who you play, when you play them, and it also depends on who everybody else plays and how they do in that. Because this is a loaded division, 6 teams, maybe. I think right now, like I said, a Gateway's 0-5, but everybody else still has a fighting chance in it. So, if Gloucester can hang on and they can win those tough divisional games, especially the ones on the road, those are always the toughest ones. That's going to be where they are most battle tested. But let's move on for time's sake to the Olympic Conference, arguably, possibly the most loaded conference in South Jersey when it comes to boys basketball.
Without a doubt, yes, it is.
Yeah, I would say, last year they had 2 entire divisions without a team below 500. In the American division with Lenape, Eastern, East, RV, and Cherokee, every team was above 500. Same with the National with Camden, Camden Catholic, Camden East Side, Eustis, and PVI. But things are looking a tiny bit different this year. Camden Catholic 2 and 3, although they have in their national division an 0-1 record. Lost to Cherry Hill West, which is one of the top. I think South Jersey Sports Zone had them in their top 15.
Cherry Hill West, they're a team that should and probably is catching a lot of people by surprise this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember Audubon played them a couple of years ago. It was one of my first public address jobs, and Audubon took care of them. I think they were like a well under 500 team, and now Cherry Hill West is catching up to the East in terms of basketball.
The West team, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, this is a big team that relies on the 2025 and 2026s. So that's why we're starting to kind of see them. Plus, I got a new head coach this year, new first-year head coach, who I'm pretty sure was a West assistant before getting the full-time head coaching job. Yeah. He had other stints elsewhere, but I'm looking at junior, sophomore, junior. There's a lot of 2025s. So a team like that last year and the year before that, you're not going to get much experience.
Yeah.
So now that there are seasoned and experienced, a lot of kids are growing their games. Quinn Gibson, throughout the summer down the grapevine, I've been told that he was a kid to watch, and he's certainly showing that right now. He's leading the pack of Lions on Chapel Ave.
But yeah, look, right now, just going back to Camden Catholic for a second, because that's who they lost to on opening day. They beat Shawnee pretty good, and they beat St. Joe's pretty good. But They actually did pretty well. They lost by 6 versus Haddonfield, which is 6-0, and they lost by, I want to say 7, 54-47 to Camden, off to a 4-0 start this year, as to the surprise of nobody. But hey, Camden Catholic didn't put up a bad fight. Luke Kennevan dropped 20. Seamus Big dropped 10. Obviously, your main guys, Billy Richmond, 23 and 10. Teron Murray, 14-7. Yeah, Kentucky. He's gonna be what? Billy Richmond's 25? Yeah, he's class 24 actually.
Senior this year, yeah.
He'll be meeting up next year with Wagner and Bradshaw. So
yeah.
That's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be. I think you're going to see a lot of people in South Jersey, especially in Camden. They're going to flock to Kentucky Wildcat bandwagons, maybe, but especially if they start getting on playoff runs, But maybe I don't know. But Camden Catholic, they've got time to rebound. They play Cinnaminson in the Butch McLean tomorrow. But we were talking about those two divisions that did not have a single team under 500 last year, especially the American division. Eastern off to a 5-1 start. We covered them on the 23rd with Kevin Crawford coming back to his home school where he led the 2014 Pittman Panthers to a state title. Now he's coaching the big boys over at Eastern, beat them by 17, and they knocked down Woodbury today. I missed this 76-47 in the holiday tournament, playing Morristown, the Morristown Quakers, another good school. They're playing them tomorrow at 12 p.m. But for this American division, again, this doesn't have the Olympic superstars of Camden or Camden Eastside or PVI, but they do have Eastern, Lenape, Cherokee, RV, and Cherry Hill East. Again, I'll say it again. No team in that division finished under 500. And with the worst team being 3-4, I see that happening again this year. I see this being a division where there's enough out-of-conference games, there's enough bouncing off of each other, where we could see another division with no team finishing under 500 with those 5 teams. I mean, Cherokee's always good. Lenape's one of the best of the best, and they're in a dogfight for first. They're tied for first right now with Eastern, with Matt Wolf at the helm. They beat Cedar Creek today by 40, and they play Cherry Hill East in a divisional game on the 4th. So I think it's without a doubt the Olympic Conference, once again, best conference in South Jersey. I don't think that was ever a doubt, but Camden's off to a hot start. Everybody that's expected to be hot is hot. And, a lot of guys are hot. So that's where we're at. And we've got one more to cover. The Shore Conference isn't really South Jersey, so I'm not really.
No, the Shore Conference is not South Jersey. To anyone watching, please. If you think it is South Jersey because there's quote unquote no Central Jersey, the Shore area is its own region. Okay, I don't care if it's 2 counties. It's not South Jersey. If you want to consider it North Jersey, cool. If not, it's just not South Jersey.
The way I always divided it up was that South Jersey was anything below my grandmother's house, and my grandparents live in Yardville, Mercer County. So. Anything south of Bordentown, I had always considered to be South Jersey.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like anything along 195.
We can get technical and say, Southern and some other schools. I think Southern and I think Barnegat are technically below that. But dude, that's the East Coast of New Jersey. That's still Shore. There's still Ocean and Monmouth County, man. That's Shore area. That's not South Jersey.
And then North Jersey is anything above New Brunswick, in my opinion.
I mean, there is really no Central Jersey. I mean, you got the Shore and you got North Jersey, Shore, and South Jersey.
This state is way too small for there to be a Central Jersey, but yet one exists. But people complain all the time about the busing and stuff like that. Like, I got to travel an hour down the road. Well, guess what? Sometimes in Texas, an hour down the road is your division. That is your divisional matchup. If you want to play a state championship game, you got to drive 6 to 8 hours.
Densely
Worst we have to deal.
Here.
What's that?
So we're so densely populated here.
Oh yeah, I could name. There's probably 10 high schools within a 5-mile radius of me. You don't have that in the rural farmlands and prairies of America. But let's wrap up this divisional. What's that?
For time constraints, we will be fast forwarding to the divisions.
Yes. Well, I will say probably next week. Let's let's say next week we will talk about the girls more, just because this is our first episode and we've been chit-chatting for a while, and we still have one more segment to go over. And there's probably some of this that's going to be edited out just because, like, I might be rambling about something, but there's 4 divisions in the Tri-County, and right now the Classic Division 3-way run for first: Pittman 5-1, Gloucester Catholic 4-1, and then Wildwood 3-2. Then you got a couple teams under 500 there. 2 undefeated teams in the Diamond: Overbrook 4-0. They took down Clearview the other day. Brian was at that game. And Woodstown 3-0. And then Glassboro 2-1. They lost to Gloucester Catholic in Dougherty's head coaching debut. And then 2 teams tied for first at 3-1 in the Liberty, Delsea and Timber Creek. And then 4-1 Washington Township off to a hot start in the Royal, and everybody else under 500 except for GCIT.
These teams.
GCIT 3-3. So, what's your comments on the Tri-County right now?
It's kind of shaping up almost like, sometimes high school sports are predictable, not entirely too predictable. But right now, you can just say the gun just started. The race just started. But people are like, oh, it's not about how you start, but how you finish, dude. Sometimes about how you start, it's going to come back and bite you how you finish. Mm-hmm. Could lose out a division game just because you limped out the gate and you ended the season hot. You gotta take as many games as you can now. Your destiny is going to rely on how you start, not how you really finish.
Exactly.
Obviously it is going to depend on how you finish. It's just that's just how it works. But you got to get these division games early in the season. You need them. Because technicalities, tiebreakers, and all that, everyone wants to avoid those. So if you want to win your division games early
and win it outright.
Yeah,
win it fair and square.
Yeah, because I don't think there's technically no. I think every other sport there's no co-division winner, but football you got co-division winners. So right now, I think the Classic is probably the most competitive division. Just because
a lot of the smaller schools in there,
Overbrook and Woodstown. Woodstown ended on I'm pretty sure a buzzer beater today. I think it was at the Boardwalk Classic. I'm not entirely sure. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. They were up at New Egypt, I think.
Yeah, they took down
the Warrior Classic. Steiner.
Let's see. It
Steiner.
was my NJ.com's not loading. The Steiner Spartans. Yeah.
Yeah, Garrett Lehman with the buzzer beater, I'm pretty sure.
53-52. And they play New Egypt tomorrow.
Yeah, Overbrook. I like what Overbrook's got. Coach Lang, really good dude. I've talked to him a bunch of times. Covered them a decent amount last year in the Tri-County, tournament. Coach Lang, he's got talent over there. Overbrook is I wouldn't say teaming with talent, but I think Coach Lang was very well coached under Coach Wolf of Lenape. I'm pretty sure that's the staff he came from. So he's very well coached. He just won a sectional the year before at Lenape. So getting a head coaching job after you win a sectional, it's almost like that the offensive coordinator gets hired after just winning the Super Bowl kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But he's got a really good crew over there at Overbrook. He's a really good coach too, really good dude. I like talking to him whenever I get the chance. Delsea and Timber Creek might be who the division comes down between for the Liberty. But, I'll see. I should be down at Delsea tomorrow for the Marty Dara Classic, so I should be able to see Delsea, Timber Creek, and Highland. And Overbrook, too, as well. Yeah, Overbrook, too, as well. I forgot they're down there. And, the Royal Division, this is one where limping out the gate can hurt you. Because right now, Washington Township, although they're 4-1, they're not too far ahead, technicality, standards-wise.
Yeah.
But, or standings-wise, I should say. But, they've got to start to where, even if they start walking, they could run away with it. Mm-hmm. So, but, start out the gate hot as much as you can and try and finish the season as hard as you can. I think that's really what teams should take that as. And, the Tri-County, I think it's going to come down to usually the top 2 to 3 teams.
So, yeah, that's some good insight from you. So that will be where we end our first episode of the discussion room. There will be a lot of editing that I will have to do. There'll be a lot of nitpicking of the footage because this is 2 hours worth of footage. I'm going to try to skim this down to like maybe an hour and a half, an hour. I don't know. I mean, it depends. There's very few people who are willing to listen to two people just chit chat for 2 hours. So
I got an idea.
What's your idea?
You
Chris?
upload it to YouTube, you chop it up. So that way, like you know how it has like the chapters thing on YouTube?
Yeah.
Do that.
We could do
like,
that.
People can just kind of quick skim through what they want to.
That is true. Hear,
so
that is true. Good idea.
You're the editor here. Just throwing out a suggestion.
Yeah. Our next episode should be next week. I don't know when we'll record. We don't have a set date for it yet. We're just gonna figure it out as we go along. We're just gonna sit back, relax, and have a good time.
Who do you want to see on the show? Also,
exactly.
Tweet that at us as well.
Exactly.
Tweet that at us who you want to see.
If you want to see more guests, if you want to see more interactive stuff, we're trying to get it so that we can record in the studio, which is this. This is the studio. But because I had gotten sick and my family had gotten sick and you had gotten sick, it was just didn't work out. But in future episodes after the new year, that may be something we can consider. So
also maybe could see 2 guests on the show. If that's what you guys want to see. Maybe, we could bring that in. Could do that. Chop it up, split it up. You know what I mean?
Could be.
Could see that.
So from everybody here at the crew, I'm Dan Wilkins. My partner in crime, Chris Baker. Our next DWB broadcast will be on Saturday, the 30th. I hope the episode is released by then because I have all the time in the world over winter break. So it'll be Saturday, the 30th, GCIT in Gloucester. And then after that, we've got Gloucester Catholic in Clayton. So that's where we're at. And that's it for episode 1 of the discussion room. Wherever you are, however you may be listening in, thank you for watching. And this has been the discussion room. Thank you all very much. And good night.
See ya.